Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Driti Atri and you're watching Skyline. Every day the world changes. One decision in Washington, one missile in West Asia, one new visa rule. It can change the lives of millions of people overnight. Today we will talk about the stories that matters the most. From the future of Indian professionals in America to Canada's changing immigration policy. So let's start with the first one here. For years, the United States was the biggest dream for Indian software engineers, students who study hard, professionals who work every single day, families invested lakhs of rupees. All for what? One goal: a better life in America. Many Indians reached Silicon Valley. They got jobs at companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta. For thousands of Indian families, life looked perfect. One person worked on H-1B visa, while other, maybe a husband or a wife, worked on an H-4 work permit. Together, both of them earned a pretty good salary. They bought houses, they invested in stocks, they planned their children's future. It looked like a perfect American dream that had finally come true. But today, that dream, it is facing one of the biggest tests. According to the United States, companies are cutting jobs and tech sector has been hit the hardest. Thousands of software engineers have already lost their jobs. Many companies say that they are reconstructing, while others say that AI is changing the ways the work was done. Instead of hiring more employees, companies are using AI to do many tasks faster and at a lower cost. For Indians, this creates a serious problem because losing a job in America is not just about losing a salary. It can also mean losing your visa. Under the US immigration rule, many H-1B workers get only a limited time period to find another employer after losing their job. They cannot secure a new qualifying job in time. If that happens, they have to leave the country. Can you imagine the pressure? You're worried about paying your home loan. You're worried about your children's education. And at the very same time, you are racing against the clock to save your legal status too. Many families are now asking a difficult question. Is America still the safest place to build our future? Some are looking at Canada, some are exploring Australia, others are thinking about moving back to India, or maybe choosing countries in the Gulf. One thing is becoming very clear, ladies and gentlemen, the American dream is not over, but it is no longer as easy as it once was. Today, talent alone is not enough. People also need backup plan, financial security, and the ability to adapt quickly to changing immigration rule. Because in today's world, the biggest risk is not losing a job. The biggest risk is losing your opportunity to stay. And that brings us to our next story tonight. For years, if America became difficult, Indians had one trusted backup plan: Canada. But now Canada is changing rules too. For years, whenever Indian professionals in America faced uncertainty, there was one country that gave them hope: Canada. If the H-1B visa didn't work out, if layoffs happened, or maybe if the green card wait, it became too long, many simply turned towards Canada's express entry system. It was seen as a clear and reliable path to permanent residency. Many believed that with good education, work experience, and English language skill, moving to Canada was only a matter of time for them. But today, that plan is changing. Canada has started rewriting its immigration priorities. The government is no longer inviting large number of applicants through the traditional tech route. Instead, it is giving preference to candidates who already have strong Canadian work experience, people who speak French, or those who fall under very specific categories. So this means thousands of skilled professionals, including many Indians, they are now facing it much harder to receive an invitation for permanent residency. This is a major shift. Earlier, many Indian professionals believed that Canada would always be their safety net. Today, even highly qualified software engineers and IT professionals, they are discovering that excellent qualification alone, that's no longer enough. The competition has become tougher and the rules have become more selective. And this has left many families asking another difficult question. If America is becoming difficult and Canada is becoming selective, where should skilled Indians go next? Many are now looking at provincial immigration program. Others are trying to secure job offers before applying, and some have even started exploring countries in Europe or maybe Gulf instead of depending only on Canada. Well, one thing is clear here: Canada's doors are not closed, but they are no longer as wide open as they once were. The country's message is simple here: it is looking for people who match its changing economic needs, not just people with impressive resumes. And yes, while Canada is tightening its system, another popular destination is doing exactly the same: Australia. Once considered one of the easiest destinations for skilled migrants, is also changing its immigration rule. Australia has always been one of the favorite destinations for Indian professionals. Good salaries, a high quality of life, permanent residency opportunity, and a growing tech sector. Now, these were some of the biggest reasons why thousands of Indians planned their future there. For many years, Australia's point-based immigration system, it gave skilled professionals a very fair opportunity. If you had the right qualification, good work experience, and strong English language skill, you had a realistic chance of receiving an invitation. But that system is becoming much more competitive. Australia has increased visa costs and now placing greater importance on applicants who already have strong connection with the Australian job market. Experts say that competitive scores for skilled occupation, it has become much higher than before, making it more difficult for overseas applicants to receive the invitation. And what does that mean for Indian professionals? It means that simply having an engineering degree or years of IT experience may no longer be enough. Many applicants now need stronger profiles, better scores, higher paying job offers, or maybe state nomination to improve their chances. Australia wants migrants who can contribute immediately to its economy, and that's becoming the new focus. Well, for thousands of Indian families planning to move abroad, this is another reminder that immigration policy, it is changing across the globe. Countries are becoming more selective, competition is increasing, and skilled professionals now have to prepare much more carefully before making the life-changing decision. Well, the dream of working abroad, that is still alive, but getting there, it now requires much more planning than ever before. And yes, while professionals are facing new challenges, another group is now facing even bigger uncertainty. Thousands of Indian students in America are now worried about changes that could affect their education and future. So let's look at our next story. For decades studying in the United States, it was one of the biggest dreams for Indian families. Every year, thousands of students, they left India with the hope of earning a degree from a top American universities. Parents invested their life savings. Many even took education loan, believing that the US degree would lead to successful career and better future. For years, students also had one big advantage. As long as they followed their visa rules and continued their studies, they could stay in the US without worrying about a fixed deadline. That gave students the confidence to focus on their education instead of constantly thinking about their immigration status. But now that uncertainty is changing. US government has finalized new rules that would replace the old duration of status system with a fixed period of stay for many international students. Under the new framework, students whose courses took longer than their permitted stay, they need to apply for an extension. And those requests could be reviewed individually. The changes could also reduce the time students have after graduation to prepare for the next step into their immigration journey. And that has created fresh concern among Indian students and their families. Many degree programs, specifically in engineering, medicine, and research, often take more than 4 years to complete. Students now worry about additional paperwork, possible delays, and uncertainty over visa extension. Parents who have invested lakhs of rupees in higher education, they are also closely watching these developments, wondering whether the path to study or maybe work in America is becoming more difficult. One thing is becoming clear though: the rules for international students are changing, and planning ahead has never been more important. Students may now need to pay closer attention to immigration deadline, university paperwork, and future visa option than ever before. And yes, while Indian students are worried about their future in America, Indian investors in Canada are facing a completely different challenge. Their biggest concern is no longer visas, it is their property. Well, for many non resident Indians, buying a house in Canada, it was much more than just an achievement or an investment. It was seen as a financial security. Thousands purchased apartments and homes, specifically in cities like Toronto, hoping that rental income and rising property cost it would help build long-term value. Well, for years, it looked like a safe investment to them. But today, owning a property in Canada is becoming much more complicated. Canadian authorities have tightened tax and compliance rules for non-resident property owners. In several cases, tenants may have tax-related obligations when paying rent to certain overseas landlords, while cities such as Toronto have also strengthened rules around vacant homes. Property owners who fail to complete required declaration or tax filing, they could face significant financial penalties. Now, these changes have increased concern among many overseas investors. Instead of simply collecting rent every month, property owners now have to keep track of tax rule, government filing, and changing regulation. Missing an important deadline, it could become expensive for you. As a result, some investors are reconsidering whether Canadian real estate that remains the best place for their money or not. Well, for many NRIs, this is another reminder that investment decisions today that requires much more than choosing the right property. Understanding local law and tax regulation, it has become just as important. And yes, while some Indians are worried about protecting their investment, well, another community in America is worried about protecting its livelihood. Thousands of Indian truck drivers are now facing major changes that could affect their future in the United States. For decades, trucking has been one of the biggest success stories for Indian community in America, specifically for people from Punjab and Haryana. Thousands of Indian families built their lives by driving trucks, starting transport companies and creating successful logistic business. Long hours on the road helped many buy homes, educate their children and support their families back in India. Now, for many immigrants, trucking was more than just a job. It was a path to American dream. But today that path it is becoming more uncertain. The US government has announced tougher action against commercial drivers who do not have proper legal status. Officials say that they want stricter enforcement of immigration rule and commercial driving regulation. And yes, at the very same time, the Trump administration has proposed expanding opportunities for qualified military veterans to enter the trucking industry, saying that it would help address drivers' shortages while creating more jobs for veterans. These developments have created a lot of concern among Indian immigrants, the drivers, and trucking companies. Business owners are paying closer attention to hiring rules, documentation, and compliance requirement. Drivers are also worried about increased inspection and enforcement. And yes, for those who have spent maybe years building their careers in the industry, the changing rule have kind of created fresh uncertainty about what comes next. Well, one thing is becoming clear. The trucking industry is changing, and following immigration and employment rule that has become more important than ever. For thousands of Indian families who depend on this industry, the coming month it could be very, very important. And yes, while truck drivers are worried about their future, another issue is creating concern inside Indian homes across America. This time, it's not about visa or job, it is about food. That's right, for millions of Indians living in America, a visit to the local Indian grocery store, it is a small reminder of home. Whether it is spices, whether it is snacks or instant noodles, these products help families stay connected to their roots. Well, many students and working professionals also depend on these food items because they are affordable, familiar, and easy to prepare. But recently, some of these products have come under increased scrutiny. The US Food and Drug Administration, or also we can call it FDA, they have taken strict action involving certain important food products after identifying issues that are related to labeling and food safety requirement. Some importers have faced recalls and additional inspections, while authorities have increased checks on important food shipment entering the US. Well, for Indian grocery stores and import businesses, this has created new challenge. Importers now need to make sure that products fully meet American food safety standards before they reach store shelf. Delays, inspections, and recalls, it can increase cost and affect supply. Some consumers, they have also noticed that certain products are becoming harder to find or maybe more expensive. Well, the story is not just about one food item here. It's a reminder that international trade is becoming more tightly regulated. Businesses importing products into the US now face stricter compliance requirements than ever before. And yes, while these stories are linked to immigration, business, and everyday life, our next story takes us to West Asia, where rising military tension are creating fresh concern for the entire world. For weeks, the world has been watching the conflict between Iran and Israel. Almost every day, there has been reports of missile attacks, drone strikes, and military action. But now the focus is shifting. According to Iranian state media, the latest attacks, they are no longer aimed only at Israel. Iran now claims it has targeted American military facility across the Gulf. Iranian media says that the country launched Arash drones against the US military sites, including American barracks and logistics centers in Kuwait. It also claimed that the Sakhir Air Base in Bahrain was among the targets, while explosions were reported in Iraq and Qatar. These claims are not independently verified though, and yes, there has been no official confirmation from the US as well. But yes, again, if these reports are confirmed, they would mark a major escalation and crisis. Countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Iraq host important American military bases that support the US operations across West Asia. Any attack on these facilities could increase tension between Washington and Tehran and raise fear of a wider regional conflict. It's also important for India. Why? Because millions of Indians live and work in Gulf countries. While there is no indication that civilians are being targeted, any rise in military tension could affect travel, business, regional stability, and even global oil prices. One thing is certain here: West Asia is becoming more unstable with every passing day. Every missile, every drone, and every military statement is increasing fear that the whole conflict could spread even further. And now, another report has emerged. This time, the focus is not on Kuwait or Bahrain, but on Syria. The confrontation between Iran and the United States may now be reaching another battlefield. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the IRGC, claims it carried out a retaliatory strike on Al-Tanf military base in southern Syria, where American forces are stationed. According to Iran, the attack was launched after Iranian soldiers were killed. However, these claims, again, they are not independently verified, and the US military has not officially commented on them. The Al-Tanf base. It is one of America's most important military positions in Syria. It is located near the borders of Syria, Iraq, and Jordan, making it strategically important for the US operations in the region. So any reported attack on these bases immediately attract global attention because it signals a direct confrontation between the US and Iran. The bigger concern is that Syria could become another active front in the growing US-Iran confrontation. The West Asia is already facing instability in several countries. And yes, another direct conflict between the US and Iranian forces, it risks to push the entire region to another edge. For India and the rest of the world, developments in West Asia matters because they affect oil supplies, in fact, energy supplies, trade route, and safety of millions of people living in the region. At this stage, many questions remain unanswered. Did the attack actually happen? Was there any damage? And how will the US respond if the claims are confirmed? And yes, as the conflict spread across different countries, another Gulf nation has now found itself at the center of the controversy. Iran is now making serious allegations against the United Arab Emirates. The West Asian crisis may be entering an even more dangerous phase. Until now, the focus has been on Iran, Israel, and the US. But now, another important country, the United Arab Emirates, has entered the headline. Iran is accusing the UAE of helping the US during the ongoing tension. According to Iran's state-affiliated Fars news agency, the UAE made airborne drones were seen flying over Bandar Abbas, one of Iran's most important military and naval cities. Iranian media even released footage that it says shows the drone over the area. Some analysts say that the aircraft looks familiar to the UAE airborne drone family. However, these claims have not been independently verified, and the UAE has not officially responded to the allegation. But you know why Bandar Abbas is so important for Iran here? Well, it is important because it is home to major Iranian naval and military facility. It is also located near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the busiest oil shipping routes in the world. Nearly one-fifth of the global oil passes through this narrow waterway. Any military activity near this area, it immediately becomes a global concern. Ladies and gentlemen, Iran believes the drone may have been gathering intelligence on its military position. Now, whether that actually happened, that remains unconfirmed. But the accusation itself, it has increased tension in the Gulf. Iranian media has also warned of what it calls revenge hell, suggesting that any country helping the American military operation could face consequences. At this stage, there is no evidence, though, that the UAE has directly taken part in military action against Iran. More information will be needed before any conclusion can be reached. One thing is clear here: every new allegation, every new drone, every military warning is increasing mistrust in the region. And if more countries become involved, the whole conflict could become much larger than anybody expected. And yes, while West Asia is becoming more unstable, another global power is quietly trying to reshape the entire world in a different way. This time, the battlefield is not missile, it is technology. While wars continue in West Asia, another global competition is becoming stronger. This is not a battle fought with tanks or fighter jets. It's a battle over tech, AI, and global influence. And the two biggest players, well, they are the US and China. Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping has announced a major plan to increase cooperation on artificial intelligence with BRICS countries, the Arab League, Asian countries, the African Union, and several developing nations. China says it will create AI Cooperation Center, provide thousands of training opportunity, and help partner companies develop new technology. At first, this may sound like a simple tech program to you, right? But many experts believe it is much bigger than that. China is trying to strengthen its position as a leader among developing countries. Instead of competing only through trade, Beijing is now focusing on tech, digital infrastructure, and artificial intelligence. Well, the US is also investing heavily in AI, and both the nations want to lead the tech world. Well, that will shape the future. From business to healthcare to defense and cyber security, artificial intelligence is becoming one of the most powerful tools in the world. Well, for India, this competition is specifically important. India is a member of BRICS, but it is also having strong relationship with the US. As both global powers compete for influence, New Delhi will continue balancing its partnership while protecting its own national interest. In the end, one thing is clear: the competition between America and China, that's no longer only about trade or military strength. It is becoming a race to lead the future of technology. And that brings us to the end of a final story, a story that shows how these developments, from immigration and global politics to war and technology, are changing and shaping a completely new world order. Well, with that, we will take a leave here. I'm Driti, Atri, this was Skyline, and I'll see you in the next episode.